Dickey, and I am the Peace Corps Country Director here in Madagascar. And we wanted to first welcome you to our team. You are 37 invitees that are getting ready, and you've already started, I know, in your online learning. And we wanted to have a chance today to introduce ourselves and a little bit about a day in the life of an education volunteer here in Madagascar. So volunteers have been in Madagascar since 1993, and we started with education. We started with 10 volunteers, and since that time we have continuously had education volunteers in country, except for minor disruptions during political unrest. And we currently have about 164 volunteers and trainees in country. We actually have some that are just nearing the end of their training. There are agriculture and our health trainees. They'll be swearing in on April 28th. So they are ending their amazing 11 weeks of training and getting ready to swear in to be volunteers. I was also a Peace Corps volunteer. I served in Guinea in West Africa. I was a health volunteer. So I know what it's like to serve, and this is an amazing experience. It's a transformative experience. It's not easy. You have your highest highs and your lowest lows in the Peace Corps. But it is something that you will never forget, and it will change you forever. And if you're like me, you'll never want to go home. So I would like to turn it over to our amazing education volunteers. We have here volunteers that are in their first year, in their second year, and some that love it so much they decided to extend their service for a third year. So I'm going to ask them to share with you a little bit about their experience as education volunteers, and then at the end we'll open it up to questions. But before I do that, I would like to introduce you to the person who is working hard to get your training together with his team. He's the Director of Programming and Training. His name is Patrick, and I'm going to move and give my seat up to him. So Patrick, take it away.
Do-si-do. Hello everyone, how are you? Greetings from Antananarivo. As Vanessa said, I'm Patrick McElroy. I'm the Director of Programming and Training. Very excited to have all of you arriving to see us and to serve here for 2 years. Vanessa said it's an incredible experience. It's one that will challenge you in ways that you cannot imagine. But it will be something that is forever with you. My service country was Tanzania, and that occupies a big part of my heart to this day. I still speak Swahili with my wife, who I met there. So we welcome you. We welcome you to this challenging place, this wonderful place. You will experience something that's unique to every one of you. No two services are alike, and I think the volunteers who are here will help illustrate that. So I hope you're enjoying time with your family, with your friends, and soaking up the last vestiges of your time in America. Eat some Chipotle before you come and become truly American Malagasy. So welcome. Bye-bye.
Who would like to start?
Okay,
You don't have to start on the end.
yeah, can I get it to look over here?
This way. Here, I can do this.
It does
I have the little remote too.
There you go.
Okay. Can it see? Okay. Hey, my name is Gabe. I was a volunteer. I lived in the very southern tip of Madagascar, in a region called Andrui. And it was very dry and sandy, and I ate cactus fruit. And I lived in a little stone house on my school compound. And I taught what would be maybe high school juniors. My classes were pretty big. I had maybe 60 or 70 students in a class, and I taught 4 sessions twice a week. And it was, super, super rewarding. And yeah, I guess kind of like what Patrick said about Tanzania, it holds a really large place in my heart. So.
Thanks, Gabe. My name is Stephanie. I'm serving in the southeast region of Madagascar. Just want to say that I'm really happy to see you all here. I've been here almost finishing up 1 year of service, and It seems like just yesterday that I was in the same couches or chairs you guys are in and joining a conference call because time flies by when you're doing service in Madagascar. I teach both middle school and high school, and I'm very fortunate because my class sizes are pretty small and my site is very tropical. So it's very nice to meet you all.
Okay. Hi, my name's Olivia. I'm a second-year volunteer. I'm teaching in the deep south of Madagascar, which is like the desert. There's lots of sand and cactus, same region as Gabe. I teach 6th and 7th graders. I have about 320 students. My 6th grade classes have about 90 students in each class, so it's pretty tight, but that's something you might experience. In our region, we have about 6 people in our region, and it takes about 2 hours to get the next volunteer next to me, just to give you an idea of who's going to be close to you, but that ranges throughout the country. I went into this without any teaching experience, but I feel, I only have a few months left, and I feel really confident about how this experience has helped me grow as a teacher and a person. And I just want to show you guys that we have a really great TEFL team here, and they're amazing people. So get excited to meet them. And that is it.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is also Stephanie. However, I live in technically it would be the Midwest. I have a particularly special site because there's like a mining company there. So I actually have people from all over Madagascar who come and live live where I live. So I get to experience a lot of different culture in this small area that I live in, which is very special. I teach middle school and high school. For middle school, I teach the equivalent of, I would say, about 5th grade. And high school, I teach the equivalent of 11th grade. My classes are a little bit smaller. In my middle school, I have about 42 students and 2 classes. I teach 2 classes at my middle school, 2 different classes, twice a week. And at my high school, the average class size is about 35, and I teach them once a week. I'm right about where Olivia is. I actually am exactly where Olivia is. And I'm in finishing up my 2nd year, and hopefully one of you will be replacing me at some point.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michael. I am a volunteer here in Madagascar, like everybody else. I used to live up in the northeast of the country in what's known as the Sava region. It's a beautiful coastal area with also a lot of really thick, dense rainforest and big mountains. So driving around in my region is always a really, really beautiful experience. My time was awesome. I taught both at the middle school and the high school level. Similar to Stephanie, I taught students right when they first start learning English, and also at the high school level when they kind of finish up their English education. So kind of seeing the gamut of how students perform. My middle school classes were anywhere from around 70 to 80 students per class, and my high school classes were a little bit smaller in the 50 to 60 range. But I had a really great experience up there in the Sava region. Definitely want to echo Vanessa's thoughts of, you'll be the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows here, but it's also worth it because I have learned so much about myself, how I interact with other people, how I see myself in a community, and how a community sees me, and I'm really grateful for those opportunities to kind of have a new perspective on the experience here. So really excited for you guys to come and to meet you all in person, and hope you enjoy the rest of your preparations.
So my name is Justin. I serve in the Southeast, like Stephanie. And I taught freshman level high school. I had 4 classes that I taught twice a day that ranged anywhere from 60 to 70 students each. And I loved it. I love my service. I love this country. My heart will always be here. So, yeah, look forward to serving here. It's going to be great.
Okay. So, let me see how I can figure it out. It's hard to get a sense from just this short introduction how amazing our volunteers are, but they are hardworking and creative and resilient, and we're looking forward to welcoming you to this team. We have very high expectations of your service, and so we expect you to also work hard. And although Madagascar is an amazing place to travel and make friends, we do expect you to really commit to your community and work hard teaching English. So we wanted this call to really be tailored to what you're interested in learning about, which is why we want the rest of the call to be about your questions. So we'd like to now open it up for any questions you have about service, about Madagascar, about the TEFL program, about packing, about saying goodbye. These volunteers have all been through it, so they're great advisors. So take it away.
Music or something.
Do we just speak, or do you want us to type it in?
So I think the best thing will be for you to type it in so that we don't
Okay.
have multiple people talking at the same time. And then maybe one of the volunteers can read the question out and then answer. Perfect.
Great. It's a race.
It's like a designated reader. Do you guys want to just, maybe while we're waiting for the, oh, there it is, never mind.
Yeah. So the first question is, how long do we stay with families before we move into the training facility? Yeah, that's a really good question. So basically, when you first arrive to country, you'll spend a few days at the training center, just kind of getting acclimated to Madagascar and kind of getting a little bit settled, and then you'll move into your host families in the community where you're going to be doing training for the 3 months. So initially you'll be at the training center, and then you'll be with your host families after that point.
Can I do this one?
Yeah.
We say with families before move to the training. So once you get to your host family, Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong, what is it, 9 weeks that they're with their host families during training? Give or take?
Could be 1, 2, 4. Could be, let's call it between 7 and 9 weeks.
So basically your pre-service training, and Gabe, our communication third-year volunteer, is working on a short video for you to illustrate what it's like. But your pre-service training is a mix of group sessions and host family stays. So you'll be staying with your host family and eating with them every night, but you'll be getting together with your peer trainees every day. So you get together in small groups to learn language, and you get together in a big group every Thursday to learn about safety and security and medical and technical training. That's for the bulk of the first part of your pre-service training. And then in your 5th week of training, you'll actually go get to see your site for 2 weeks. And there you will live with a host family in your permanent site. And then you'll come back to the training facility, and you will go between the training facility and the host family for another about 6 weeks, 5 weeks, sorry, before you're sworn in. So you're with your peers a lot, these people that are on this call. You're going to be spending a lot of time with them. You'll be spending a lot of time with our staff and with leader volunteers, and also with host families in our training community called Montesquieu. Do you want to take the next one, Dave?
I would love to. Do people typically drink coffee daily? Yes, sometimes more than daily.
Yes, thank goodness.
I'm drinking a lot.
Coffee addicts, don't worry.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Thanks.
Who wants it?
Anybody? Yeah,
Uncle, that's you.
What's the one thing you wish you were more prepared for? I guess off the top of my head, maybe I'm originally from California, Southern California, and it's very dry and hot out there, so I was not necessarily prepared for the deep humidity of Madagascar, especially along the eastern coast. For most of the year, it's pretty warm no matter what, but also the humidity is something that really got to me. So that was maybe just something that kind of caught me a little bit off guard.
Anybody else?
And I would just like to point out, I'm also from California, and I don't have those problems at my site, so it's just kind of.
I think we should reiterate, I know you've been told about boo. When you first arrive, it's going to be colder than you want it to be. For a while. For a while. And it's not that it's, so unlikely cold that you're just never really warm. So even if you think you've packed enough, like, socks or whatever, layers are advisable. And maybe after the first 3 months you won't ever need them again, but I don't think you'll be sad that you brought those things.
I had a couple people from the Midwest in my stage tell me, oh, we didn't believe them. Like, they must not be from, like, the Midwest. They must not know what cold is, and they underpacked as well, and they were like, no. We had no idea.
The coldest tropical island in the world.
Yeah, because our training center is in the islands, which is traditionally a cold area of the country. So what Michael was describing about this site being hot and humid, it's very different when you first come and you're at the training center. And so typically when I walk in to do a training session at this time of year, volunteer trainees are in layers and sometimes wrapped in the blanket that they ripped off their bed because they underpacked. So we cannot underline this enough. Bring a coat, bring leggings, bring wool socks. You will be cold.
Yeah, you're coming during the coldest time of the year, so that's when your training's going to be.
Yeah.
It gets cold.
I would say the other thing that a lot of people don't come prepared for is just kind of general isolation. It's much harder to get in contact with people that you're used to being in contact with. If you're a person that WhatsApps with your mom every day, or your dad or your brother or whoever, or you're just on Facebook a lot, and that's just sort of a place where you engage with your community, that's much more difficult. It's just the network's not always as nice as it is in the US, depending on where you're from, of course. So that kind of isolation and finding ways now, thinking about what you like to do when you're kind of offline, how you cope with a little bit of isolation. You're going to be with all of these amazing Americans who've decided to do the same thing that you did, which is amazing, but you don't know them that well. And then you're going to be with a host family that you are only beginning to share a language and a culture with. So the degree to which you can come having practiced something. So if you're like, I'm going to take yoga up when I go to the Peace Corps, try doing that now so it's not weird when you show up and you're trying to roll out the mat and figure out the directions amid all the other, I don't know if there are directions for you, amid all the other stress that's happening to you. So I would just say that it's going to be really stressful in ways that you don't know and cannot yet expect. And so think about what's going to be your release, what your thing is. If it's music, that's great. Make sure your iPod is loaded up. If it's cooking, make sure you have that special spice or your chef's knife. If it's yoga, make sure you have that, or running. Whatever it is, make sure you have that and you've been thoughtful about what's going to be your way to cope and manage stress as you immerse yourself in this new and wonderful place.
And prepare your families for that as well.
Oh yeah, good point.
Talk to your families about the fact that they might not be able to WhatsApp or call you every day. And they won't believe you at first because they can't imagine there are places on Earth like this. But you need to say it a few times and maybe even do a little experiment with them where you just don't write back to them for 48 hours.
I love that.
Just to see, so they could try it on.
I guess at the expense of, at the risk of spending too much time on that question, one more thing I just thought of kind of when you were speaking, Patrick, is the amount of time that you are around people for those first 3 months. Because I started Peace Corps thinking like, oh, it's just going to be me, like by myself in a little village in a house, and there's going to be lemurs and that's it. But just if you're someone like me who's maybe needs to be by himself to refuel, those first 3 months can be taxing because you're just receiving this bombardment of social activity for the 8 or 9 hours a day that you're training, and then the time you spend with your host family. So kind of in line with what Patrick was saying, having a good way to maybe de-stress or decompress alongside that.
So can we move on to the one at the top?
Yeah, I have a suggestion for that. So,
Can you read the question first?
yeah, the question is, what did you not pack that you wish you had brought, or what are some must-have items for packing? Something I wish I would have packed are things that bring people together. For example, games, cards, things that don't really require language to play and be social with people. I know someone from my team who came with us brought a suspension line that you tie to trees. We just spent half a day trying to balance with the Malagasy people. Or things that bring people together, or something you can share from your state that might take away some sort of awkward silence in the beginning. I wish I would have brought something like that.
That's a good idea.
Particularly when you first come, having a photo album with your family and friends is such a big bonding moment for you and your host family. And my mother got out her photo album of all the previous volunteers she had, and she named them all and showed me them. So that was her Peace Corps family, and I was showing her my family back home, and with what I could say about who was who. Some other things that, my apologies, my phone is going off right now.
Last question on that.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. So a few other things that I ended up packing that I was really happy about. A small portable speaker. So as a teacher, being able to do social media, any sort of media work within the classroom, it was great to have a small and strong American-made speaker to really project it to within my classroom. It's something that I used all the time. And also a personal item, not just a photo album, but a personal item. So for example, I read a specific Christmas story with my father every year, and I brought a copy of that. And every Christmas, my dad calls me and we read it over the phone together. So just don't, I know it's a lot of technical, I should bring this, this, and this, but don't forget to bring those personal items that will bring you comfort.
I mean, going on to the second part of that question, the must-have items, I would say electronics, just in general. Most stuff like clothing, kitchen supplies, stuff like that, you can buy here. But electronics are more expensive or harder to find, so laptop, hard drive, speaker, that type of stuff is fairly important. But I also will be posting in about a week. I'll be posting a packing list on your Facebook group. So you'll be able to read through that and see what we suggest on bringing.
Want to go to the next one?
Sure, I'll read it. Question is, do you have a choice between living on your own or with the host family after the first 3 months? And all volunteers will have their own house once they get to site, though it could range. Personally, I live on a compound, so I live in a house or a room right next to the house of my someone who I'm working close with in the community. But you could be a little more separated. I don't know if someone else wants to comment on their living situation.
Talk about your living situation.
Yeah, I lived at basically the school administration compound, so what do we call that in English, the Cisco, a school district almost? Yeah. Basically the offices for the school district, and then there were also some other smaller houses that were within a fenced compound, and I had one of those houses within that compound. So
how many rooms was your house?
Mine was just one big old room. Oh, it wasn't big. One room, yeah. It wasn't one room, yeah. It was a converted office within that office building, so imagine a small office and putting a bed in there, and that's about it.
And then you got a latrine and shower behind.
Correct, yes.
That was just yours?
Correct, yeah. I had all access to just my own shower, my own bathroom. So that was really nice. I happen to have electricity. That's not the case for every volunteer, but yeah.
Personally, I live in, it's one giant house that basically has a wall, like a very thick, not a very thick wall, but a wall down the middle of it. And in the front is a 3-room house for a Malagasy family. The deputy mayor lives there, and anytime I have to get anything fixed in my house, I just go in front of my house and knock on the door and be like, hey, I have this problem. And then I live in the back part of the house, so it's kind of nice. I don't get all the sound of the cars and things like that. And I actually have 3 rooms in my house and a separate area for a shower, and I actually have a toilet. So, yeah, well, I'm pretty lucky.
Stephanie, what's your house like?
No. So my housing situation is very much what I imagined Peace Corps to be, even though it's very varied here in Madagascar. So I live with no electricity and no running water, but it's a very positive thing, I think. And in terms of the question about living with host families, if you have a choice or not, so after 5 weeks of training, you go live with the host family in your permanent work area, and you can develop that relationship however you would like. And the way I did it is I became very close with my host family at site near my work. And so I go there for every meal, and when I'm sick, I move into their house, and during vacation, I move to their house for vacation. And so it really is up to you. You can be very involved with your host family, or if you do prefer more living on your own, you will have your own house too.
The way that housing works in Peace Corps Madagascar is that we provide volunteers to a community, and the community provides the housing. So we provide our standards. We tell them what the standards are for housing, for security, that the volunteers should have their own toilet, private toilet, and place to shower. And the community provides the housing. So when you arrive, your house will be ready for you, provided by the community.
Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay, this one.
Can I do this one? Hello, my question is about teaching. The video stated that our resources will be limited, but teachers commented that it can vary widely. Can you describe some of your classrooms in terms of setup and resources and how you navigated those hurdles? I'm really happy that somebody brought up the video, because I made that video a couple months ago, and I'm glad that it got to feature like a different range of teaching setups and resources. So you had somebody who taught in a private school, and you had bookshelves, and you had like a computer and electricity, and it was very nice, and the class was very small, and then you had maybe teachers that taught with just a blackboard and kind of rickety benches and chalk. So it isn't to say that there aren't exceptions, but by and large, that's what you'll have is a blackboard and chalk. Your own resourcefulness, but you guys can also chime in.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I mentioned earlier that my classes are about 90 students, and just picture like wooden benches, about 4 students sitting really squeezed tight on one bench. I have chalkboard and chalk, and that's it. There's no library or books or any resources, no electricity. And I think one of the coolest things about teaching here is that you get to grow with your students, and as you learn about them, they learn about you, so it just becomes easier. There's always going to be hurdles, but a huge chunk of pre-service training is they teach you how you can be creative without any resources. So it might be really intimidating at first, but it's possible. So don't be too freaked out about that.
Maybe like a couple examples. I use my students as resources. If there's like physical things that need to be done to explain something in English without me having to like say the word in Malagasy, I know which kids are like shy. I know which kids are like up for getting in front of the class and like helping me out with demonstrating things. I've brought in. I've like made Valentines to show my children when we talked about Valentine's Day. I've brought in, but I've made charade cards, and they'll like pick them out of a little hat or something I have around. I know people bring clothes. If someone's like interacted in marriage, done a fashion show. Yeah. So it's a lot about like using what you personally have as resources and also using your students to do things.
Biggest resource is basically your imagination, what you can come up with.
Next.
Satellite phone.
Yep. Take it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Is it worth investing in the satellite phone?
I would take it out.
Not even one person would buy a satellite phone?
Definitely not. I wouldn't even know where to buy a satellite phone in America.
Why not?
You'll be impressed with the telecommunications network here, I think. I was. Lots of places have 3G, not everywhere, but most places have some kind of rudimentary form of cell phone reception. But it is worth it to come with a smartphone that is unlocked.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will that be detailed in your packing list?
Yeah, it'd be checked.
I would like to point out that I did not bring one, and nobody ever really hears from me at site, like because they use a lot of they have like Facebook Messenger for our region and things like that. And Peace Corps can always get a hold of me, and people that like to text or call can always get a hold of me, but that's a little more expensive in this country. So definitely, I would definitely suggest bringing a unlocked smartphone.
Next.
The question is, are you typically teaching classes solo or with a counterpart? It was my experience, and I think the experience of most education volunteers in the country, that you're teaching solo. You're teaching by yourself. You're the only teacher in the classroom. You'll have a work counterpart that maybe you can help each other plan lessons or talk about different ideas for projects that you might want to work on, but usually when it comes to your class time, you're going to be the only one in charge there.
The next question is, how much of an influence do we have on where we are placed? Is it on a first come, first served basis or by need? Basically, it's by need. So our team has been working for the last several months on identifying sites and making sure those sites are prepared. So what we will engage with you when you arrive, we'll talk about what your interests are. We'll talk about some basic kind of personality traits. Gabe talked about being more introverted. There are folks that are more extroverted. There are folks that will happily indulge in that 13-kilometer bike ride, and there are folks that really can't do that or are less inclined to do that. So we'll take some of those personality traits and some of the skills that you bring, be it previous teaching experience, kind of across the board. Maybe it's TEFL specific, maybe it's just general classroom experience, and we'll try and place you in schools where we think that you will be most successful and be able to make the greatest impact with what you bring to the table. So we'll engage you in a dialogue around that, but the ultimate decision we leave with our programming team. Xavier and his team will come down and pick your site for you. So I don't know if you guys want to comment on that process. You felt like it was good, bad?
I have changed the process.
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
But Stephanie has a new process.
One thing right before you jump in, I would like to also point out that if you have any medical restrictions,
Right.
those are definitely accounted for within your site placement.
As far as how much of an influence do you have on site placement, I know we were given a chance to interview about site placement, just to give our feedback about, there was a survey whether or not we had any preferences or definite no's. I know what I said in mine was I would love to have sunshine year-round because Montezuma or your training facility was very cold, and I'm from Florida, and sunshine makes me very happy. And I don't know how much power I had in it, but that's where I got places in a very sunny, warm side of Madagascar. So they do give you a chance to voice what you think you would like as a site.
From what I've witnessed, I think the Peace Corps staff has a pretty good handle on the process, and they seem to do a very good job at matching volunteers with places where they'll be successful.
Hygiene. Justin, you want to do that one?
Questions about hygiene. Do women typically shave? Do people typically wear deodorant? And is it necessary to bring soap for the first 3 months, or is it easy to buy there? To the first 2 questions, yes and no. I mean, if you want to answer the shaving part, the deodorant part, people usually do wear deodorant here. I would say if you prefer stick deodorant, to bring a lot of that with you, or have it shipped in care packages, because it's relatively hard to find stick deodorant in this country. It's usually just a roll-on. So keep that in mind. And for soap, it's easily bought here, so that's not a problem. For shaving.
I'm a little unclear on the question because I'm not sure if this relates to Malagasy people or to the PCBs that are living here currently. So if who's the individual class?
You can just answer both.
Okay. Do women typically shave? I would say for Malagasy women, no, but I definitely have seen razors sold in my town. So, and I know women buy them to shave. I definitely know that the legs aren't typically a thing, at least where I come from. Do I shave here? When I'm at site, not really. When I have to go places, like vacations or things like that, and when I'm interacting with Americans, usually I'll clean it up a little bit. And do people typically wear deodorants? A lot of Malagasy people do not, which can get interesting when you are traveling and you're in a very tight space with a lot of people. You may sit next to someone that's a little smelly, but you get used to it. You get used to the smell. And yes, I always wear deodorant. I actually wear a natural deodorant.
I would just like to say one real quick on the last part about, buying things here. Like Justin said, there are definitely most hygiene things are available here. But if you have like a really particular brand or particular product or something that is like really important to you, I would say maybe, bring enough for the first few months, and maybe if you have somebody to send you refills through a care package, that would be good. But like if you just want plain old soap, you can totally get that here.
But nobody makes Q-tips like America.
Amen. True. Amen. You bring Q-tips.
I will also say that with regard to kind of hygiene in general, that we get the most upsetting feedback that I get from counterparts would be when volunteers are smelly, unkept, kind of dirty. So you will have access to all that stuff, and if you're going to be a teacher and be professional, then yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on how everyone has their own hygiene products, and they use them how they use them, but the end game is that you are put together, buttoned up, and looking nice and sharp for a professional setting. Manage bills. Who wants that? 9 questions.
I think you guys pay bills.
I do know some people that handle that though. So it's on a site-by-site case basis, and usually, like if you need to handle bills with electricity or water, there'll be like an individual that can help you sort that out.
So in the places that have electricity, my understanding is that the hosting partner pays the bills. Is that what happened in your case, Michael?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So is a sleeping bag necessary or is it just nice to have? I would say it's not necessary, but sometimes it is nice to have. 'Cause it does get kind of cold here sometimes, so whenever I was in a taxi cruise traveling, I would use the sleeping bag as a pillow, and then once it got cold, I actually like slip into it and use it to keep warm. So it's nice to have. Also, if you do camping, you can use your sleeping bag for that. But really, I would say only bring it if you have extra space, because it's not necessary at all.
Stephanie, would you agree with that?
I would disagree with that.
Because you're a little bit like totally this group.
I would disagree a little bit with Justin, just in terms of weather, because when I got to Montessu, my host family had 2 blankets, which is, I think, the Peace Corps requirements for them to have for you. But being from a really warm state, I couldn't sleep at night. Like, I wouldn't have been able to sleep at night without my sleeping bag that was, like, thermal. So I don't know. I feel like if you are prone to cold, you could always give it away at the end to your host family if you get placed in a warmer site. But I think it was really helpful with the cold and then comfort, too. And just being in something cozy.
I mean, I had issues with this as well, but I just asked Peace Corps for more blankets, and that was good.
Yeah. But I have heard volunteers who live in the islands that are really happy they brought a sleeping bag because at like 7 at night they zip themselves into it and then don't get out until morning because it's that cold.
And if you're adventurous, going on vacations, it's nice to, like, if you're going hiking or something like that, it's nice to have a sleeping bag already with you instead of having to, like, rent one.
Are they available for purchase here? I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
Just in case you're worried about spacing your bag.
Space, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Who wants to read it?
French skills.
Okay.
How useful are French skills?
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry, I just said that one.
They can come in handy.
The numbers.
Yeah, numbers for sure. But I didn't know any French when I came here, and now it's been 2 years, and I feel comfortable with numbers, which is probably the most widely used French. So useful, yes, for sure, but not necessary. Chances are, in the community where you're placed, 95% of the people won't speak French fluently or communicatively.
I think French is a useful skill as a teacher to have. For instance, if you're teaching grammar, the verb to be is not going to be translated. There's no direct translation in Malagasy for conjugations. However, if you know French, and the students here all have to take French starting from the first year they go to school, then it's easier for them if you can say this is the French equivalent, and that would help them understand the English conjugation better.
I would say as a foreigner coming to this country, most Malagasy people are probably going to assume that you can speak French, so they'll probably start speaking to you in French. If you can turn the tables and kind of respond and start the conversation in Malagasy, that's a really good way to kind of endear yourself with your community, to show them that you're not just this foreigner passing through, that you're invested in this community enough to learn their language and to communicate with them. Because most people that come here as tourists don't bother to learn nearly as much Malagasy as we all get to learn during training. So it's, like Gabe said, it's not a necessity, but focusing on your Malagasy is a great way to integrate and to endear yourself with the community. Yeah, I would say Malagasy is definitely more important than the French. I know in the north, if you speak Malagasy, people automatically think that you are American. Americans are Peace Corps and we speak Malagasy. So it already sets us apart. In my original community, I never heard French spoken. It was only Malagasy, and now there's a lot of places, or a lot of people that speak French where I'm at. I don't speak any French, and I get by perfectly fine with my Malagasy. So it's nice to have, but it's not necessary.
Next question.
So because you have your own home, you make your own food, or is that something the community does together? And how tightly knit is the community in which you live? So I typically make all of my own food, but occasionally for special occasions, or sometimes if I go and visit a friend and I happen to be there around lunchtime, they're going to be like, oh, you're going to stay for lunch, right? So they're very welcoming, and it's like that's a very good thing. But like I have my own autonomy with making my own food and things like that, and what I like to eat. How tightly knit is my community? I'd say it's pretty tightly knit. There's always like a lot of gossip going on. They don't always know each other's business, but that's definitely a part of my personal experience at my site. And a lot of people at my site depend on the mining company for a lot of the way that they live. So they kind of have one person that's one company that's like central to connecting them all together, which is a very different experience from other people.
I would just add quickly that food plays a big role in this culture in connecting people. You'll always have someone, your neighbors, welcoming you to join to eat with them. So that's really nice, especially when you get to site to integrate into the community. They'll always be welcoming you over to eat, and that was my experience. And it's also a good way you can share your food with them. If you bake or a special dish that you like, you can share with them.
Yeah, from limited interaction, Madagascar is a very sharing, friendly culture. Sharing is a big part of life here. So in the sense that tightly knit would imply a lot of sharing, I think that's probably, it would be classified as tightly knit in that way. Next question. Who wants this?
How your vacation's been? Do you get to travel the country often, and how likely is it to leave Madagascar for a vacation? So the first question, Madagascar is an amazing country. The people are amazing. The countryside is amazing. So vacationing here is amazing. There's a lot of, the whole country is different. Different parts of the country, completely different landscape, different culture. So it's amazing to be able to travel around. You'll end up getting 2 days per month. Is that correct? 2 days per month to travel.
Yeah.
And so as education volunteers, you'll be able to travel during like school vacations, so like Easter, Christmas,
Summer.
Sorry, English is hard. So you do get opportunities to travel quite a bit if you want to. And as far as like leaving Madagascar, you're able to do that as well. My first Easter, I left and went to Mauritius, which is an island just east of Madagascar. So you are able to do that as well.
For travel in general, it can be pretty difficult and taxing here. I think that personally we are very blessed to be serving in this country because nobody gets to see the country like we do, particularly with vacations. Family and friends come to visit, and they only get to see a small part of this country. But we do get enough vacation days to really and depending on how you plan, you get a pretty good idea of what this country is really like.
I think financially, traveling around the country kind of depends on what sort of travel you want to be doing for vacation. There are some options that are completely doable within your living allowance that you get from Peace Corps. There are other options that if you want to take money out of an American account and use that to kind of do whatever you want to do, that's an option. So there are ways to sort of have both.
Careers after service?
If you know anybody that's hiring, happy to talk to anybody. Me personally, I'm kind of looking into the nonprofit development kind of field. So I'm looking to relocate to New York City. So if anybody has any connections, try to hook it up.
I'm not planning.
Okay, there's that.
I'm looking into more schooling, getting my master's, because with my major in college, I can't do anything with my life. So, doing that, and possibly looking into some occupational therapy work. I definitely want to work with, like, helping people. And then possibly doing Peace Corps response. And a little bit more traveling before I started the big girl job.
I'm looking into a career in the journalism field.
I'm hoping to go to grad school for anthropology. Right now I'm trying to keep a field journal of like ethnographic notes, just as I'm teaching and like thinking for the future too. So you can definitely, while you're here and while you're teaching, thinking about your future career as well.
I thought my plan was to go to school, but I've been kind of kicking around ideas about how to stay in Madagascar, which is easier said than done, but not impossible. So that's going to change.
And you also will get your TEFL certification, so you could go, if TEFL and English teaching abroad is something you want to do, that door will be open to you with much better, I think, higher qualifications than folks who come off the street. Number one, you've done it 2 years in a classroom, you've got the certification, and you've done it in a place with such limited resources that some employer is going to say, if you can do it there, you can do it anywhere. So for those of you that are looking into that career, this is hopefully will be helpful as well. Next question, what types of negative experiences have you had? I think in the interest of time, and that's a wide open question, do you guys, negative experiences seems like a very big one.
Yeah, maybe we should not.
We're going to skip that one. If you have something more specific, let's skip to Malagasy skills.
So the next question is, how did you feel about your Malagasy skills after pre-service training? I was very surprised at myself and how much Malagasy I was able to learn in 3 months. I feel like the Peace Corps does an amazing job teaching you a language you know nothing about. And also, one suggestion I have is during your language learning, think about the way you're learning a foreign language, because it's interesting. It'll affect the way you teach your students as well. But after PST, I think my Malagasy skills just surprised me, and I felt very prepared to go to site.
Anything else from Malagasy?
I felt like I can communicate like my absolute needs, and then the rest would come. You know, all the basics, all the things that you must have down. Like, I felt very confident in those. Some of the extraneous things you just end up learning at site.
So we will set you up with a minimum standard, a level that you have to achieve as a trainee, and in order to get you there, we put you through pretty intensive language training, and then the goal is with this intermediate mid is the level that we want you to get to. That is a level that you can build on at site. That's a level that you'll have enough in your pocket that you can go and direct your own learning and continue to grow your Malagasy. So the idea isn't that you leave pre-service training being able to fluently speak Malagasy. I'm going to give you core building blocks and make sure that you are at that level, and then you will go to site and basically no one leaves PST unless they are a real savant with languages they cannot speak fluently. I think probably a year in, people start to really get to feel that point where they're not doing so much kind of calculus in their brain to put together those sentences, and you really start to kind of gain traction, I would say, in your second year on the language. So it's an ongoing process, but it's extremely valuable. Malagasy is loaded with all of these proverbs and sayings that really elucidate so much about the values that people carry. So it's definitely going to be one of the most challenging things you will do because it will require so much of your energy, but it is essential, I think, to really understand and love this place. Naj, we're over time. Can we let's do 2 questions? Or are we done?
Yeah, 2 more questions is totally fine.
Cool. Okay, so you guys have a pick.
Save the third one for the last conference call.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I think the resources local part is good.
Okay, so we're going to save the question on illness because the last conference call we will have the Peace Corps medical officer on the line and be able to speak to that more directly. So go ahead and answer your question. Read it out loud, please.
So the first part is for places without running water. Do you have any tips for making that more comfortable? How did you deal with that? I'm going to throw that out to the people that don't have running water. And also, should we bring some teaching resources like books? As far as like books for your students, you definitely can. Some places have libraries. You never kind of know what you're stepping into. So I would say at least for initial packing, I wouldn't worry about that stuff. As far as resources for yourself, we have like flash drives sent around, like grammar books and things like that, that can supplement your ability to teach English here, as well as like, because I know grammar was like a big concern of mine when I first came in, and not feeling comfortable teaching that, and we had a lot of resources to help, especially digital resources. Water.
I'll comment about water. I live in the southern part of Madagascar in the desert area, which was hit by a very severe drought, and so it's common for me to buy my water, and it's not expensive, but has been times where I haven't been able to buy water, and that's like a feeling that I wasn't used to. I guess I definitely took water for granted in America, and so I guess, but you know, it's fine. You're living, everyone else around you figures it out, and you figure it out, and I guess just go into this experience knowing that it's not going to be easy every day, but you know, you figure it out.
I think as far as the actual act of fetching water, provided that you have water available to you, as like in the grand scheme of things, with things that are difficult and things that are challenging and hard to adjust your life to, the physical things that you thought would be surprising or difficult in the beginning, like no water or no electricity or you know, not driving a car, became really, really insignificant compared to you know, other unexpected, more tangible things that were challenging.
I think you don't have to worry too much, like Gabe said, about the number one worry shouldn't be adapting to the new resources, like not having running water, because you'll find other ways. For example, washing clothes. I have a little waterfall river stream by my house, or taking bucket showers, which I thought would be horrible. Now I prefer over hot showers. So I think right now just don't be too worried about things like that.
The daily life, all those small things about daily life here in Madagascar just become an everyday thing. You don't think of it as any different. And you'll probably end up going back to the United States afterwards and try to like fetch water while it's raining. Or so, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it at all.
So we're past time. Thank you all for joining. Thanks to our amazing panel of volunteers. 2 takeaways. Don't stress about preparation, which exact things to bring. every one of these folks has made a decision they were happy with and made a decision they weren't happy with. You too can do it. They are all successfully serving in a lot of different ways in a lot of different places. We have an amazing team here that will prepare you to go and take ownership of your classroom, to live in Madagascar. It won't be easy. We will challenge you. It will be a lot of hard work, but you can do it. They're all doing it, and those of us who have served, we love it. We wouldn't trade it for anything. So you're very lucky to be coming this way and to be able to walk alongside Malagasys and help develop this country. Anything else?
Okay, so thank you for joining us for the call. We'll have 2 other opportunities to talk to you and answer your questions. Also, we encourage you to join the Facebook group if you haven't already, and to ask your questions there. The people that are responding to those questions are current volunteers from all of the sectors and from all of the regions across Madagascar. So they are the sages in the country. They're the ones that can give you the best advice in real time. So we encourage you to post questions there as well. The next conference call, I believe, is April 20th, Nash?
Yes, that is correct. April 20th, same time at 10 o'clock.
Okay, and that will be with your boss. So this it is the program manager for the TEFL program. His name is Xavier, and he has been here since 1993. He started this program. So he is very experienced, and he's looking forward to meeting you on that call. Thanks, everybody.
I do have a couple of reminders. Just make sure that you complete your TEFL modules when they're due. Also, just kind of look out for an email. I have some additional action items that you all have to complete before staging. So just look out, check your emails in the next couple of days or so. Okay. Thank you so much, Team Madagascar.
Thanks,
Amazing. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Nash.
Bye.